Hey there guys, in this video we're going to be taking a look at group policy objects, or should I say group policies. Now in this video we're going to be diving into what are group policies, just a brief description as to what they actually are. Then we're going to be taking a look at what are the prerequisites you need to have for group policies to actually work. And then lastly, how and where do we actually go about configuring these mystical things called group policies. So with that out of the way, let's jump to our first topic, which is what are group policies. So for this one, guys, I'm going to quickly circle to my actual virtual machine, which is idling in the background. And here we are on the virtual server in the background. Now, for those of you that have not been following this series, we have previously in the previous videos installed the ATDS role along with the DNS, and we've also promoted the Active Directory domain controller. We've even joined a device to our domain and all of that kinds of stuff. Now, normally when you go and add the ATDS role, one of the features and stuff it tries to install for you automatically, which we did actually install, is group policies. So that you can find here under the tools menu. And if you browse down this menu, there we go, group policy management. So we'll go click on that in just a moment. So we need to give you guys some context here first. So I'm going to go here to Active Directory users and computers. And there we are, guys. There's my fake domain, Burning Ice Tech, same name as the channel. Gonna drop that down. That is pretty much as default as things get. Now, if you've been watching this series, you would know the ones that look like that, just like a normal folder icon, those are containers. The one that's got like a little folder icon with a little thingy inside of it, that's actually a little book inside of it, by the way. You know, I know you guys can't see it, but it's actually a little book inside of it. That is an organizational unit, also known as OU. Most of us in IT just refer to it as an OU for short. I mean, it's a lot easier to go and say OU versus organizational unit. Now, if I were to go click on there on a domain, which I already did, you'll see here on the right hand side, it shows me those same folders. Basically, they're folders. And you'll notice they're all containers, container, container, container. And that one there, domain controllers, says organizational unit. In other words, OU. Now, when it comes to group policies, that is basically settings that you can go and apply to organizational units, not containers, only to organizational units. There's about 3,000 settings that you can actually go and apply to your organizational units. Now, how many organizational units you go and create, I don't even know why I'm saying organizational units, but let me just say OUs. How many you create and the way you structure them is completely up to you and your unique environment, you know. So normally the rule of thumb here is try and keep it as simple as you possibly can. It's just going to make your life easier when it comes to managing all of this. So just to give you an idea here, I'm just going to go and randomly right click here on my domain, new organizational unit, not a container. Containers are what's created by your server automatically. So as soon as you go and make your first domain, containers are going to be created automatically. OUs is what we go and create. So I'm going to go and call this, according to geographical locations maybe. So I'm just going to call this New York. Okay. Here we go. I'll maybe make about 3 of them just to make it more realistic. So I'm just going to make 2 more here quickly. Paris. And 1 more should do the trick. Tokyo. All right. So what I did here is I created myself 3 organizational units, as you guys can see by the little icons there. It looks different. And the reason why I created 3, or the way I did this, is I structured them according to my offices or according to my branch offices, you know. So it's basically structured geographically in my scenario here. That is a very common way for companies to go and do it. And it's probably one of the most popular ways for companies to go and do this. Not the only way. So at the end of the day, it's up to you how you want to go and do this. So inside these folders, I can go and make child folders or child OUs. So inside the New York one, I can now go right click on New York, go to new, make a child OU. It's basically a subfolder is what it is. And I can go and make one that says computers. We'll explain that in just a second. And just 1 more extra for users. So that's a very simple layout. So now what's going to happen here is under the New York branch, all the user accounts for all the people working there at that office or that branch, I'm going to throw all the user accounts there. And all the computers, all the devices that my users use, there might be more than one for some people. That's all going to be here under computers. And this is just going to essentially allow you to manage your things easier and quicker. So group policies, which is still the topic here, can only be applied to OUs. So it's basically a special kind of folder. And it's going to allow you to go and do bulk operations. So imagine you've got 100 users in this branch office and you need to go and apply a certain setting for all 100 of those people. Do you really want to go to each and every account and go and configure that for each person, or maybe even walk to their PCs and go and configure that for each and every PC? That is just not feasible. You're going to kill yourself by doing that. So instead, we do bulk operations. We use group policies for that. So on the server side, which is where we are right now, I'm going to go and configure a group policy later on during this video, and I'm going to go and apply that to an OU. So everything, every user account in that OU, or all the computers in that OU, that setting is going to apply to all of those computers in one go, or all the users in that folder in one go. So that's just to make your life easier. Now, something that you'll also see quite commonly with a lot of offices is instead of having just computers and users like that, they will go and make sub-departments. So let's quickly do that just to simulate that as well. You'll maybe see something in the likes of a marketing department. And I'm going to make two more here just to give it some context once again. A sales department. Maybe there is an IT department. There we go. Obviously, there could be way more. I mean, there could be a finance, etc., etc. And in each of these departments, you'll have sub OUs. Yeah, I'm not kidding, really. Users, once again, and computers once again. I'm not going to go do more than this because I think this serves its purpose. There we go. Computers. So now you can see under the Paris branch, I've got different departments. There's just 3 of them. There'll probably be more later on. And in each department, there's users for that department and there's computers in that department. So this is just going to make it a lot easier and a lot more accurate when you need to go and apply policies or settings to user accounts or computers for this matter. So if I need to go and apply a setting which is only applicable to users in the IT department, I can go and apply it here on that OU right there. It's only going to apply to users, and it's only going to apply to users in the IT department. If it's only going to computers in the IT department, then obviously I apply the policy here. If it's applicable to the whole IT department, you can actually just go and apply it there, and it's going to apply to both users and computers. So I think you guys get the idea as to how this whole thing is structured. So just to summarize, organizational units is what we use to go and structure our environment. So it's just to basically logically group your things. It's the same as when you've got a folder on your computer. This folder could be in your documents, it could be on your desktop. Let's say it's on your desktop. And this folder is called My Finances. In that folder, obviously it's going to be a grouping of financial documents, which is yours. It's just to keep it all organized in one little document or one little folder. The same applies here essentially. It's just to organize things. That's how it is. So this is a very flat structure is what we call it, but some companies will go very deep into it. Very big pyramid kind of scheme. No, not that kind, in case you guys are wondering. So I think let's go to the group policy side just to show you how all this all works. So I'm going to circle back to the dashboard here. Let's go to Tools, Group Policy Management. Let's just make that full screen. Drag this a little bit to the right. And there is my domain. So I can expand this even more. Domains, there's my domain. Expand that even more. And you'll notice we only see the folders which are OUs. We don't see the folders which are containers. So we see the one that's called domain controllers. That one was there when we started. And then we see the 3 OUs I just created, the 3 main ones, New York, Paris, and Tokyo. Obviously, if I expand those, you'll see the child OUs I made and the child OUs I made. So that is why, or one of the reasons we've got OUs is because that allows you to go and do group policies. In other words, apply settings. These group policy settings could be just to go and tweak something on everybody's machines or their accounts, or it could be to block something or allow something. I can block you from using a certain component on your computer. You just cannot use it. Or I can allow you to go and do something that might not otherwise be allowed. This could be something like BitLocker. So I can go and allow you to use BitLocker without a compatible TPM chip. That could be a reason. So generally, it's not really used to go and allow something, although that is possible, with group policies, like with BitLocker, for example. But normally we use this more to go and block things, or just to go and tweak certain settings on the PC. It could be something as simple as changing the company wallpaper. So when you log on to your user account on a domain joined machine and you use a domain account, I can make your wallpaper appear to be maybe the company logo. So instead of you seeing a custom wallpaper that you chose, you will see a wallpaper that I've chosen via group policy that needs to be shown on everybody's wallpaper, on everybody's wall or desktop for that matter. That is the one you will see. So that, in a nutshell, guys, is basically what group policy is all about. So I think let's move on to our next topic here, which is the prerequisites for group policies. Now, what do we actually need to have in place or set up for us to be able to do group policies or this GPO concept? The first one is ADDS needs to be installed. That's Active Directory Domain Services. For those of you that don't know, it's a role. So on the server side, you will need to go and install that role, which is something we did in one of the previous videos. So if you don't know how to do that, or if you've not seen that video, just go to the previous videos in the series and you'll see there's a video that basically explains exactly how you can go about installing the ADDS role. And in that very same video, we actually install the group policy management tool as well. Something else you need to have is the group policy management tool. That needs to be installed. Fortunately for us, usually when you go and install the ADDS role, being Active Directory Domain Services, that's the tool that actually gives, or that's the Active Directory and all that, it automatically ticks the group policy management tool feature for you. So that is not something you have to really go and look for. It's automatically going to go and install that for you in most cases as soon as you install the ADDS role. And then the last thing you guys need to have in place here is organizational units. I mean, we've just seen that, how important it is to have OUs. If you're just going to go and have yourselves the normal containers that comes with Active Directory when you just install Active Directory, that is not going to cut it. You need to go and make yourself some OUs. How many and how and where, that is up to you and your imagination. Only you and your company would know how you want to structure that. It's completely dependent on your company's needs and requirements and a little bit of your imagination, I suppose. So very important. Without OUs, you cannot apply group policy permissions or settings to folders. It only works on OU folders, being organizational folders. So I think let's move on to our last topic in this video, which is the actual configuration for these group policies. Let's go and configure one or two for you guys, just so that you can see what it actually looks like and how you can go about doing this. So the ones I'm going to try and do for you guys is I'm going to try and configure a group policy, which is basically going to be a wallpaper. I think that's a very quick and easy one to show you guys, something that you can see real time happening right in front of your eyes. So I'm going to change the wallpaper on every client PC which is joined to my domain to something I've chosen. So just to show you what the wallpaper currently is, let's first go to the client machine here. All right, there we go, guys. That's the same client machine we've been using previously in the videos. So this is the client machine, the one and only one I've got right now. And it's actually joined to that domain if you haven't been following this series. As you can see, the wallpaper is the normal default Windows 10 wallpaper. So our goal here is to change that wallpaper via group policy. So next time this person logs on to their machine, onto the domain, that wallpaper is not supposed to be the default Windows one. It's supposed to be something of my choosing. And companies quite often like to make it some sort of logo of the company. It might be the company logo or something in that sense. They like to do self-promotion by that way. So I'm going to circle to the server here and show you guys how we go about doing that. So let's minimize this. And here we are back on a server. So for now, let's check. Where am I? We are currently in the group policy management. So what I did in the meantime here is there was a quick pause Let me just minimize this to show you guys. I went and made this little wallpaper, custom made that. So it's a JPEG image, and I dropped it here on the desktop. So what I'm going to also go and do here before we go to the group policies, I'm going to go make a folder here and share it. Let's just call it wallpaper. Make it something simple. Wallpaper. Let's share that folder. So I'm going to go here to properties, sharing. That should be fine. Yeah, this one. Let's click on that one. Share this folder. Yeah, I'm not going to change any permissions. I'm just going to go with all the defaults for now. That should be sufficient. Apply. Okay. Security wise, I'm just going to go and add authenticated users. So these people need to be domain users. They need to be authenticated. So I'm going to go here to edit. I'm going to add a group called authenticated. I'm just going to run a search for AUTH check. I'm going to do a quick search. You can see it finds authenticated users. That's fine. Okay. Okay, and the default permissions is fine for now. So they should be able to read. Okay, apply. Okay, and okay. So now one last thing to do here is I'm just gonna basically drop that into that folder there. Now, when it comes to the group policies, if you need to go and configure the wallpaper via group policy, all you're basically going to go and do once you go and configure the group policy is you're just going to point it to a UNC, which is basically a shared folder on the network, which is what I just did there. I made a folder on the server, I shared it, I dropped the wallpaper in there, and now when I'm going to go and configure the group policy, I'm simply just going to point that group policy towards this folder and that image inside of that folder. So let's go to our group policies here. So let's quickly go to Paris and IT maybe. So I'm going to go and configure the wallpaper specifically for the Paris branch or office, specifically for the IT department, specifically only for the user accounts here. So that for all we know, there could be 100 people in there, there could be 1,000 people in there. And when I configure it here, it's going to apply to all 1,000 or all 100 of them in one go. It's going to make your life so much easier, trust me. Now, how we do that is, remember, these are OUs. So you are now able to right click on that. This is not in Active Directory using computers. We are in group policy management now. You can right click on it and you'll see the options is different. The one we're specifically looking for is the one that says create a GPO in this domain and link it here. We want to create a GPO and we want to link it to that folder right there and then. So let's click on this first one. Let's just call it something simple. Remember, simplicity is key. Another rule to keep in mind here is, remember, it might not just be you working on a server. For all you know, there's other IT people that's working on a server, maybe someone else in the foreseeable future. And you need to keep it as simple as possible so that when someone else comes here and they need to go and do configuration, they at least know what is what. If you just have a random group policy there and they don't know what that is, they're going to have to go and open it first and look at the settings. You're making it very tedious for those folks. So at least now they can see, oh, okay, you know what? This has got something to do with the wallpaper. It's probably a wallpaper GPO. So make it something simple. What would you like to see if you were that person? Imagine yourself in that person's shoes. Okay. Now that you're done with that, I'm just going to go here to users. I'm going to expand that. And now you'll see this little GPO there, group policy object. If I click on that, let's just click on do not show and get these pop-ups out of the way. Here we go. So at the moment, nothing is really tweaked yet at this time. So we're going to go and tweak this group policy. And as I've stated earlier in the video, there's about 3,000 things you can go and configure, that you can go to block or allow or go and tweak. And that is quite a lot. So I'm going to be doing dedicated videos at some point. It's purely just for group policies. So this video is just a short, quick one, just to show you what group policies actually are and how you can go and configure it. So I'm just doing it on user accounts today, but the same thing I'm showing you right now can also be done on computers and wherever else. It's the same procedure. Just go and repeat. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to go say edit. Here we go. Let's just make that bigger, full screen. Drag this to the right. Now, this is something you can actually go and configure on your local machine as well, but if you're going to do it on the client side, it's only going to apply to that one machine and that machine alone. And we do not advise that, because if you've got a lot of people, it's just not worth it. So it's much easier and quicker just to do it on the server side and link it to an OU. So the one we're looking for right now is going to be under user configuration, under policies, administrative templates, desktop, and then desktop. Now, you don't have to stress about where what is. I mean, honestly speaking, there's people that's got 20 years of experience, some of them specifically, or even on Active Directory, mind you, and they still don't know where what policies are in some cases. I mean, I literally just told you there's 3,000, over 3,000 settings. So don't feel ashamed if you don't know where what is. Most of us find ourselves Googling where whatever policy is. So if you need to configure something very specific, group policy wise, and you don't know where that is, simply just go run a quick search in Google or a search engine of your choice. Go YouTube it. You can go check in a manual, and normally without even going to any websites, literally in the Google results or your search engine results, you can actually see the path that you need to go and take, the breadcrumb, so to speak. So now we are currently in the right place. I'm going to go to that one. I mean, it kind of speaks to us, doesn't it? It says desktop. Right click, edit. And here you see that's why I made that folder on the desktop over there. Now, in real life, you're probably not going to go make that on the desktop. I mean, that's very unprofessional. You're probably going to go drop that in your pictures folder or in the documents somewhere. So there is where we're going to go and specify the location for that shared folder. So I'm going to go here to enabled. Enable it, type in whack or backslash the name of the server or the name of the locations or the location. In this case, it's on the very same server, so it's called Burning Ice Tech -dc this server dash. It's in a folder on the desktop. I'm just gonna say wallpapers backslash. The picture was actually also called wallpaper, mind you. .jpg. Here we go. All right, and then on the wallpaper style, I don't want to center. I want to make it full. We just want to make sure it uses all the space available there. Otherwise, it's going to look very unneat. Click on full, apply, and okay. So if it doesn't show after this, it's simply just a matter of you typed the path wrong there. So it might be a matter of I missed one there where it's maybe supposed to say desktop and then wallpaper. So I might have the path wrong there. But even if I've got the path wrong, this basically serves its purpose. It will still show you how to go about that. So you simply just go and specify the network share location, which is known as UNC. Here we go, UNC. Okay. And that's it, folks. That's how you do group policies. So today's exercise was very quick and short. It was only to show you how to do the desktop wallpaper. But as we've said earlier, there's about 3,000 things you can go and configure. And at the moment, I've only applied this to user accounts, specifically in the IT department. So let's go and check out. It's probably not going to take effect immediately because this user is currently logged on. So I'm going to go quickly to the client side here. Here we are on the client side, and the user which I'm logged on with is Bob, which we've previously created this course. And Bob does not have the desktop background changed yet. Now, there could be multiple reasons for this. The first of which is because Bob might need to restart a PC for the group policy to kick in. Group policies could take hours to kick in. The second reason is because Bob is not currently in that OU that I just created. So let's quickly go back to the server and just chuck Bob into that OU. Here we are back on a server, so we can actually close this group policy management now. We don't need that any further. Let's go to, let's close that. Active Directory. So where did we configure that? We configured it for Paris, specifically under IT, specifically for users. Now if we click on that, do you see anything there? No, we do not. So at the moment, Bob is not going to get that change because Bob is not even in that department. So I'm going to go here to users. Let's see if we can find Bob. There's Bob. And you can either go and right click and say add to group, or you can go to just drag him there, I suppose, wherever. I'm just going to go and drag Bob there to users. Moving objects, yes, that's fine. Let's just double check if Bob is actually there. Here we go. So now any group policies, obviously you can go and apply many group policies to that organizational unit. Any group policies that's currently there will automatically apply to Bob now. And what people will sometimes do in companies is if someone resigns or they're temporary on leave and stuff, we don't want to just leave that account hovering there because that's then called a Smurf account. It's a security risk. So instead of deleting the account, they will disable the account. They'll do this, disable the account, and then it'll also temporarily move that account out of that OU. Because then if you move it out of that OU to a different OU, which has basically got no group policies assigned to it, all permissions or policies that account had at that time is temporarily revoked. And when Bob comes back, from his vacation or whatever the case might be, we just drag Bob back to that OU, and that's going to take like 1 second. Within a matter of 1 second, he automatically has all the right permissions and settings and stuff again. So that's just to make hackers or any malicious users' actions just so much harder. So let's go back to the client side and just see if it has taken effect. I'm probably going to have to restart it though, so let's just go check. As we can see, nothing yet. So now I'm going to restart this machine. And normally when you start the machine up on a domain, or as soon as you log on to the domain, it applies any group policies, any new group policies. So it might not kick in immediately, like I said earlier. Just because it doesn't take effect does not mean you did something wrong. It could take a few hours, sometimes up to a whole day for group policy to kick in. So I'm just going to restart this, and then I'll do a quick time lapse for you guys just to speed it up. And here we are, guys. There is Bobbity Bob Smith after a restart. So generally, as soon as you log on, any group policies will automatically be applied at this point right after logging on. And sometimes if you're lucky, you'll even see a short little message that says applying group policies. So my fingers are crossed that hopefully we'll see something like that. Maybe we're lucky, maybe not. Let's log on and see what happens. And there we go, guys. Background has been applied. Now I know to you guys it's actually gonna seem like a black screen, and it's not entirely wrong. The thing I did is when I made this picture, I saved it as the wrong resolution. So the image I made is of very, very, very high resolution, and it basically is a black screen with just some letters written here in the middle. It just says Burning Eyes Tech, which is the name of the channel. That's all it is. So it's probably here on the side somewhere, because of the resolution. That's a super high resolution image that I went and made. Normally with YouTube, you've got to make it super high resolution. But the fact of the matter here is the background is no longer the default background. So if you would have gone and downloaded a wallpaper or made a company logo or whatever the case might be, you just drop it in a shared folder. And when you go to group policies, you just simply specify the location of that shared folder. And by the looks of things, it seems like it did pick up the image. I mean, it is black after all, and that was actually a black image. So let me go back to the server just to show you guys. And here we are on the server. So let's just quickly check that folder. And if I were to open that image, you see it is a black screen. It's just super high resolution. That's basically all it would have said. So it is a black screen. Just too high resolution is what it is. Anyway, guys, so that's proof that it actually did work. I hope you guys have learned something. If you have, please smash that like button. It truly does help my channel out a lot. And if you're new to this series on my channel, maybe consider subscribing. Hopefully I've earned your subscription on this channel. Alright guys, I will see you next time on episode 12 of the series. Have a fun one. Bye. If you love me, let me know. If you don't, then let me.